Hello and welcome to the Wow Weekly Update. Hope you're all keeping well. Let's have a look at what Bitcoin's doing, what the talk is in the market, how the overall economy is doing, and what that might mean for the direction of Bitcoin in general. So, what we'll do first is have a quick look at the charts. So, let me just get it up here and share screen. So, here we can see, get rid of that. Here you can see the daily, the Bitcoin chart. And so again, as I've mentioned before, going from the end of February to this point in time, it's been in a downward trend. That's about a 6 month time frame. So if you look here, you can see that it's gone from its high, all-time high, to put in a low. Its next high is lower than its previous high, and the next low is lower than its previous low. So in other words, each high is lower than the one before, all the way down. Likewise, the lows are lower each time all the way down. So, reducing, the market is in a general downward trend. Bitcoin's in a general downward trend. And, as they say, the trend is your friend until the end. So, while the trend is moving that way, you can consider that it's going to continue moving that way until it shows you something different. And again, you can see here these blue arrows are important. Why? So again, this first blue arrow has followed the trend. It's a lower high than the previous high. Um, Nothing to see here as such. However, the following low is higher than its previous low. So all the other lows were lower, 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 and then suddenly we have this higher low. So that's an indicator that you would keep an eye out for. And the next thing to look for would be, well, will the next high be higher than the previous high? And this is something I was keeping an eye on just yesterday. I actually did a video on TikTok on this as soon as it happened. But you can see here, here's the high, the previous high. And now you can see we've put in a higher high. So now we have a higher low and a higher high, which is a break on the trend. And so this is definitely something to keep an eye out on. Bitcoin could be moving out of its downward trend that it's had for about 6 months now and potentially move into an upward moving trend. So definitely would be keeping a very close eye on how high does this go? Does it get to this blue trend line here of lower highs all the way? If it can break that, you would expect it to come back and retest it. And if it retests and holds, then there's every possibility we see this going into breaking, the all-time high and move upwards pretty significantly. Of course, this current high, it could change immediately. It could go up to that blue and reject and come back down. And then you'll be keeping a very close eye on, does it make a lower low? Or if it can maintain another higher high, it's another confirmation of an upward trend. And if you're happy that that is the direction, then it may be time to consider your positioning in crypto projects, the projects you like, the ones that you might be interested in DCAing into, a dollar cost averaging. You might have bought some in before, the prices are lower. There's a lower price opportunity to get into them right now in advance of going off into a bull run, if that's your expectation. If, however, I guess you want to play it a little bit safer, you might wait to see where this trend goes. If it does break in this trend line and start, show that it has the potential and strength to go to all-time highs, if you believe that, then definitely you'd want to take position. However, if this puts in a lower low, then that would sort of cancel the trend reversal, and it may be time to hold and wait and see. So there's plenty to be learned from the charts. But again, like everything else that we look at, there's nothing that is decisive. So what's happening in the market in general? Well, if we look at this, another trend broken. So generally, well, we can't say broken yet as September hasn't finished yet, but it currently is the most positive September ever in Bitcoin's history, in that it's up about 9% at the moment. Generally, the average is down around 3.5, 4%. At the moment, it's up. So you can see the vast majority of Septembers for Bitcoin here. Most of them have been red, as in negative. There's only been three other times where we've had a green September, and in all three of them, we've had very green October, November, Decembers. And in general, October, November, Decembers tend to be positive anyway. But in all three previous times, when we had a green September, we've had a green October, November, December to follow. So again, it's a broken trend by having such a positive September, the most positive September, assuming it stay maintains these levels out to the end of the month. A few days left. Um, but yeah, so again, it's a trend broken. And then it's a case of can we have that very strong October, November, December again? Traditionally, that would be the case. This ties into a chart we've looked at before. The 4 year trend tends to be that as we have our Bitcoin halving, a number of months later, we see Bitcoin take off in price, and generally, and it has been in the past, the main upside comes after the elections, and of course, the elections are in for early November, so just over a month's time. And once that uncertainty is gone, in other words, we know who our president elect would be in the US, then um, quite often then the market moves really quickly. And again, history would show that it would. If that were to happen, it would play right into the usual Bitcoin halving. In 2016, from the Bitcoin halving to when it actually moved in towards all-time highs, took 228 days. In 2020, it took 220 days. And if it was to follow the same timeline, then in late November, early December, we would see all-time highs for Bitcoin. And that would play in right into these charts as well, where it would happen, the major move would happen after the elections, and that would give it certainly its chance to push on and go into all-time highs by late November, early December. So again, let's see. Is the general news out there about cryptocurrency positive? Yes, I think every update I've done, there's huge amounts of positive news around Bitcoin all over the world, whether it's governments, countries, institutions, and so on. And here's a list of information that I've pulled up for this past week. Kamala Harris has actually mentioned crypto for the first time, and in a generally positive way. Donald Trump has paid for burgers for the first time using cryptocurrency. BlackRock has released a report on Bitcoin calling it a unique portfolio diversifier. So, really positive. Singapore's biggest bank, DBS, is planning to offer Bitcoin and Ethereum option trading. Germany's DZ Bank is giving its 700 cooperative banking customers access to crypto. Germany's commercial bank is offering Bitcoin and Ethereum trading. The Federal Reserve, of course, as we all know, has just dropped interest rates by 0.5% last week. This is hugely a positive outcome for risk on assets in general. As you make money more available, cheaper, then it tends to have a very positive outcome for risk on assets, such as cryptocurrency. The state of Louisiana has officially begun accepting cryptocurrency, so you can pay bills, etc., taxes, and so on using crypto. Another big step forward. Turkey has decided not to move forward with additional taxes on stocks and crypto. So there's huge positive news in the crypto sphere itself. And again, on top of the fact that the US has cut interest rates, Europe are doing the same, and now China has also announced it doing the same. And it's by its monetary policy that it announced last week, it's going to put an extra billions and billions into the Chinese economy. On top of that, it's just announced that it's going to inject 142 billion into its largest state-owned banks to address rising bad debt and struggling economy. This move aims to boost lending capacity and support sectors facing financial difficulties. So the positive reading in all of this is there's much more liquidity coming into the markets. The US are doing it and China are doing it, two biggest economies in the world. And so you would say this has to be usually positive for crypto assets in general and risk on assets in general. However, you do have to ask the question, why are they doing this? If you look at the US, they claim that jobs and all to do with it is really positive. The markets are really strong. The inflation has been tamed and is getting closer and closer to their target point. So why reduce interest rates? Why reduce them at all? But why reduce them more than the standard rate of 0.25%? Is it because they see major problems coming down the tracks? You would have to think so. Otherwise, why not just do a normal 0.25 basis cut? There's lots of indicators out there to say that there's, very strong issues in the US economy between their commercial property sector, property in general, the properties, number of residential properties going onto the market now are increasing significantly. There's, the consumers are 70% of the economy. And the majority of consumers now are saying, yeah, inflation is coming down, but everything is incredibly more expensive than it was a number of years ago. And they are suffering under that. Credit card debt is an all-time high at about 1.15 trillion. Bankruptcies are increasing. Lots of banks in liquidity pressures themselves. So there's a lot of indicators in the economy to suggest that there's issues coming down the pipeline. And again, you look at China, it's putting in huge amounts of money now into the system. And in fact, there's more money in the system now uh, to the highest level since 2008, which of course, was following the financial crash. So again, just to touch on that, China isn't done stimulating. I mentioned this other 142 billion. In theory, that would improve lenders' capacity to help struggling economy. And that's the point. The economy is very visibly struggling. And the details have yet to be finalized, but if confirmed, it would mark the first capital injection in the banks of China since 2008. We know why they did it then. Why are they doing it now? And again, with regards to the Wall Street and the Fed are disagreeing on rate cuts, we've had this jumbo one of point 0.5. It marks the markets appear to be betting that worsening economic conditions will force the central bank to move much faster than just reducing by 0.25% from here. Again, that would indicate, a struggling economy. And so while this extra money into the economy, in theory, again, would be very good for risk on assets, if we're in a recession or a coming recession is imminent, then obviously that would have detrimental effects on risk on assets like the stock market, like crypto, and so on. And of course, while all of this is going on, we see likes of gold and silver hitting all-time highs. And traditionally, people move into those assets, of course, when there's more liquidity in the market for sure. But if people have concerns about the economy, they tend to buy into safe haven assets such as gold and silver. So I guess the sort of general overview of what I'm saying here is, again, within the crypto space itself, things are incredibly positive. Bitcoin looks like it may be moving into a trend reversal. Well, it has shown a trend reversal. If that gets confirmed over its movements in the next, days and weeks ahead, then that's very, very positive news. And so if we can avoid a recession in the near term, and we follow the general trends that we've seen over the Bitcoin halving, the elections, etc., you would expect a really, really strong bull run in crypto coming up in imminently within weeks. Will that happen? Well, if we can avoid recessionary fears, then it's highly likely with this extra liquidity coming in around the world, interest rates being reduced, and massive money being injected into the economies, then you would expect that to be very positive for your risk on assets. And so where's the potential? Well, I suppose in general terms, let's look at the overall global assets around the world. If you look at crypto here, these are in billions, so it's 2,435 billion, which is 2.4 trillion. But if you look at that as in comparison with other assets around the world, like gold is 15 trillion, global money supply 95 trillion. You move down towards likes of global real estate, 637 trillion. And then you look at global derivatives of a 1,000 trillion in assets. It just goes to show that crypto it's actually less than 0.1% of global assets. So you can see the potential for a very small percentage of this to move into crypto would absolutely balloon the overall crypto space, certainly Bitcoin, Ethereum, and the majors. But a lot of that, of course, will trickle down into lower cap cryptos too. So what does that mean for us and for people following the crypto space? Well, ultimately, now because we see this trend reversal in Bitcoin, it very much is a case of watch the space. Keep an eye on what's happening there. And if in the overall economy we can avoid recession and people feel that we can avoid recession for the next number of weeks, months, and into next year, and there's every possibility that can happen with the amount of liquidity that they're going to pump into the markets or during that time, or at least what's expected, reducing interest rates and putting on the money printers, bringing more money into the system. It's happening in the US, it's happening in China, and no doubt it will happen in many other parts of the world. Then with that additional liquidity, you would expect to be very positive for the risk on assets, including crypto. And so if you're looking to position yourself into the market ahead of that, well, now it might be time to start looking at which are the projects that you want to put money towards. Maybe existing projects you already bought into, and now might be a DCA opportunity, a dollar cost average opportunity to buy more of those particular projects at now a cheaper price. And if you think we're somewhere close to the bottom, you don't have to try and get the very bottom. But if you think the trend is going to be upwards from here, then it's definitely worth looking at those projects. If you still believe in them, if your original research was good, and you still think these projects are good and going to be good into the future, well, then now is definitely a time to have a look at those and go, okay, do I want to put the next portion of my dollar cost averaging process into these projects at this stage? That's not to say that projects can't go down further. If there's further talk of recession, if job numbers in the US start coming in much weaker, then of course there is that potential for either a recession or even just a strong pullback in the market itself. And so when you are looking at your projects and you are considering dollar cost averaging in, you must take that into consideration. What if we do hit a recession in the near future? And that comes before the bull market. Well, then a lot of those projects will dramatically reduce even further. And so you have to be prepared for that. And some may not come out the other side of a recession. That's the point of risk reward. If you go for the really high risk plays, then there is potential for those to go to zero. Some of them or all of them. But on the other side, if you want to get in ahead of what if you believe we're in an upcycle from here, well, then now is definitely a time to at least have a look at those and consider your options and whether, entering into that particular project that you're looking at, that now could be a good time, or like I said, dollar cost averaging down into other ones that you may already have looked into. From a wow perspective, I'm going to revisit some of the projects that we mentioned and shared documentation and research on back a number of months ago, and have a look at them and see, would it make sense or what might it look like if you were to consider dollar cost averaging into those right now. And so with that, hopefully you found that useful. Again, any comments or suggestions, very happy to hear them in the group. Would be very happy to get any feedback on these updates. Are they useful? Are they not? There's no point me continuing to do them if people don't find them of any use. But if you do, please let us know. If there's anything else you'd like us to add in the general market update, then please do. Won't be going into specific projects or anything like that in the general update, but I do intend doing a video quite soon on some of those other projects that we looked at and give an update on where we think we are with those, and is DCing now an idea to consider. With that, have a great weekend. Hope you're all keeping very well, and we'll talk to you next time.